Yes, the Chronos 1.4 high-speed camera has arrived, the single most expensive piece of recording gear that I've ever ordered, and that's saying a lot. Made possible by a number of very generous viewers, and I thank everybody for chipping in, especially Yaksin, who by himself covered quite a substantial amount of the cost. So that is really awesome. Thank you very much again to everybody. And because I had a hard time deciding between the color and the monochrome version of the Chronos, the folks at Chrontech were kind enough to actually send me one of each so I can try them out and send back whichever one I don't want to keep. And another thing has also arrived, namely the improved version of the Panabas from traditional Filipino weapons. The first one broke on me when testing, and then they redesigned it, and now this one is very clearly full tang. And here's the cutting with it. The first two I didn't get because I still had to familiarize myself with the Chronos, but here it is. So 1280 by 1024, that's the highest resolution that it can do, and this is 1057 FPS, which is very similar to the RX 100 that I've used before for slow-mo. So yeah, you can see here the image is much clearer than with the Sony that I've been using so far. So on this day I didn't want to go too low on the resolution just to see what the image quality would be like this way, and it's nice smooth footage so far. And the reason why I've been trying to decide between the color and the monochrome is the monochrome sensor is much more light sensitive, so it's going to give much better quality in low light, and you'll see that in a moment. This was not a good cut, but went for another one, and that one was nice and smooth. So here's the monochrome, and in this case the difference isn't that striking because there was still plenty of light. I would still say the monochrome is a little sharper maybe, and of course lack of color is a bit of a bother. I can see why some people would find it off-putting. I actually let folks vote on it both on my Facebook page and on Patreon, and it was almost exactly 50-50. So yeah, people don't really agree. You can really see the difference. The red color here is of course not visible in the monochrome. You lose that. And here's 800 by 600 at 2873 FPS, which looks really nice. It's very, very sparkly, the water in the sun. So the lower resolution, 800 by 600 is still not a problem. You can still see pretty well. As you get lower and lower into the 640 by something, the resolution is going to get pretty bad, but you get substantial FPS out of it. So I'll have to experiment with that as well. And yeah, here's still 800 by 600. This here in particular looks really nice. That's such a high quality, crisp image. Everything is very clear. You can see the blade slowly slide through the mat, and it's pretty amazing to see that much detail. And that is by far not the highest you can get. Here I was trying a European longsword technique, which I didn't expect to work because it's a very different blade, but I wanted something that failed so you can see the difference in the slow-mo, see what's going on there. So here also really nice. You can see very well how the blade goes through the entire mat. There's a lot of detail in this. You can see how the string pops off and everything just majestically moves. Everything just looks more epic in slow-mo, doesn't it? And here comes the cut. That one is really nice and smooth. Let's take a look at that again, even slower. I can reduce this some more. I can go down to 30 FPS, and so that's 50%. 30 FPS still looks fine on this. I also used the soaked tatami mat with a rattan stick in between. I was surprised that the Pandavas actually cut through it because I hit it way too high up the blade. So this was essentially a tip cut, and I did not expect it, or would not have expected it to go through the rattan stick actually. I should have cut lower down. You can see here, that's what I did. I cut lower down on the blade, and this was so smooth. There was very little resistance in the cut. This is the 800 by 600 color, and here you start seeing the difference. There is a bit of noise in the image, and also the color fades a little bit. That's the thing. As you get less and less light, the color will be less intense. So if I were to record in lower light than this might actually become somewhat more similar to monochrome. Here's a 1280 by 720. This is 1502 FPS. This was with a different sword, by the way, Chinese Dao. And this also looks really nice. That was quite a smooth cut. And you do lose some information, of course. You do lose the color. And I could just say, okay, I'll just restrict myself to recording in sunlight, or at least on a bright day. Here I did some harder testing with it to see if it would really hold up, and yeah, it was fine. I could hack the palette apart, and there was no damage to the blade or anything, nothing loosened up, no rattle. So it looks like the improved version really is significantly better than the first one. And now here you can actually also see a bit of noise even in the monochrome, because at that point it was for slow-mo pretty dark. You can see the main camera could still handle it just fine at 60 FPS, but the higher you want to go, the more light you need. You need pretty absurd amounts of light for high quality slow-mo recording, and this would have looked pretty bad in color. So yeah, that's the limitation. But I still, even now that I've tested it, I'm still not sure. I still cannot quite make up my mind, color or monochrome. I prefer the color, of course, because it just looks better and it kind of helps in some ways, even though there is color footage from the main camera. But the monochrome, yeah, it definitely has some advantages. So I'll put a poll in this video so you can vote on it, and we'll try to figure out which one to keep and which one to send back. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and thanks again to everybody who threw in the support. Also, thanks to all the patrons. You really help a whole lot to keep this channel going. Anyway, have a good one, folks.